They're on a long road trip with the family in a white car, but our kid in the back is totally checked out, busy grinding away at some intense PvP on his phone. At that moment, the father at the wheel finally snaps and harshly orders his son Gilsu to hang up that damn phone immediately. But our kid doesn't give a damn about his old man, and the journey continues at full speed as if nothing happened. At this point, his mother steps in and gently mentions that his father is calling him, and he should at least answer. Despite his mother's warnings, his father shoots a devious glance through the rearview mirror, angrily realizing his son is still silencing the world and ignoring him. Gilsu, ignoring everything, imagines his father probably cursing the day he got married and deeply regretting having him. Remembering how he was treated like trash at school, he knows all too well his father will never be proud of raising a weak and useless son like him. Trying to soften the mood, his mother sadly notes that if he's bullied or beaten again at his new school, he should just give up. Ultimately, even if he only wished for a peaceful life, Gilsu is painfully aware that these sweet words are actually a big lie. When he wanted to drop out, it was actually his mother who forced the family to move to a new city just so he'd keep studying. As this dramatic family scene unfolds on the road, the child, losing his mobile game, falls into a pit of total despair. Even if he thinks about pulling the plug as everything around him falls apart, life eventually returns to its usual routine. And once again, that famous school transfer is happening. The moment Gilsu steps into class on his first day, he's just planning to run away. While you're dreaming of an earthquake or a North Korean invasion, the time finally comes to introduce yourself to the class. She spreads the name Gilsu, claiming to be a fresh face around here, and smoothly lies about how delighted she is to meet everyone. While he just wants time to stop and hopes to avoid any trouble, an unexpected student in the class suddenly stands up and starts clapping wildly. Suddenly, the whole class gets caught up in that famous herd mentality, applauding him and showering their new friend with welcome messages. The guy who started the applause finally announces to the class with great joy and excitement that someone cool has arrived from Seoul. Claiming Gilsun has a unique aura, she wastes no time in demanding our lead sit in the empty seat next to her. While this left the boy bewildered, an inevitable and terrifying encounter with a massive student was lurking in the classroom. When the imposing student makes a move toward Gilsu to get his attention, he sees two fierce bullies in front of him, just like back at his old school. His mind instantly triggers old traumas, recalling those dark and painful moments of being cornered and left all alone. Terrified that those silent tortures might start again, our hero just prays deep down for it all to end quickly and painlessly. One of the boys puts his arm around Gilsu, but unexpectedly introduces himself as Dojin in a very polite and friendly way. Instead of bullying the newcomer, she cheerfully offers to go to the canteen together, and says she'll personally show him around the school. Stunned and overwhelmed, Gilsu accepts the offer, and before long, the cafeteria is buzzing with voices and laughter everywhere. While our hero is in shock, hanging out with friends like this for the first time, Dojin suddenly drops a troll question to break the ice. He's hanging out with the others, making fun of his friend's weird eyebrows and saying his ex left him just because of them. Tensed up by this unexpected question, he whispers that it's actually his friend's secret charm to save the situation. While that sweet debate over eyebrows continues, Gilsu finally manages to see a tiny but bright light in his pitch-black life. Looking closer at the school, she notices everyone is very happy. It's like a whole different world from those old hellish schools. Sipping their juice and floating around, our hero believes that maybe this time, they can truly fit in and live a normal life. But while he's lost in a daydream, our unlucky Gilsu clumsily crashes into a man rushing by him. The man's frustration is clear from his harsh, tense expression as he sees his white shirt ruined by a spilled juice stain. Terrified of a fight, Gilsu panics and apologizes, sincerely offering all his cash and to cover every expense to get the shirt cleaned. But the man says it's not important, kid, thanks him politely, and walks away quickly as if nothing happened. Relieved of his shirt trouble, Gilsu is amazed to find that this stranger is actually as kind and understanding as everyone else at school. Maybe he's philosophizing deeply and hopefully at the end of his first school day, thinking he can finally lead a normal life here. Deep down, our hero feels this warm atmosphere is worlds away from the foul, dark, and oppressive vibe of his old school. Just as she thinks she's finally found peace and feels happy about moving, realizing she worried for nothing, the wind shifts and things suddenly take a dark turn. With a smirk, Dojin suddenly appears and asks his new buddy again if he has any plans for tonight, in a friendly way. Stunned by the sudden warmth, Gilsu finally feels he belongs, sensing a deep glow of peace and comfort rising within him. While thanking his new friend for this great offer, he's now completely sure that this place is nothing like those old hellish schools. For the first time in his life, he dreams of beautiful days where he builds real friendships without bullying, living fearlessly and peacefully. Hearing that she has no plans, Dojin smiles and says, "Follow me then, let's grab a bite," as he cheerfully takes her along. The boy invites Gilsu to see a mysterious place together. Our naive Gilsu accepts this offer immediately without any trouble. As it gets dark, the pair glides toward that famous spot. But our unlucky protagonist feels a strange sense of unease along the way. After walking quite a while but seeing no sign of the destination, our character is overcome with deep anxiety. With his legs aching, the boy finally asks his colleague exactly where they are being dragged and why the road never seems to end. Duval admits the place is a bit weird, but insists he must see it during his freshman year at school. With no idea what to do next, our protagonist is completely stunned within this spiral of uncertainty and necessity. As they leave the city crowds for the deep wilderness and his fear grows, Duval suddenly starts a strange interrogation, heightening the tension. When Duval asks if he's ever done boxing or any combat sports, our hero says never. The senior brother whispers that the job requires nerves of steel, as they finally approach the door of that dark and ominous place. As the man orders them to drop the matter and hurry, the horrific scars on his body begin to catch Gilson's trembling eyes one by one. These scars constantly remind our hero of those dark, torturous memories of being slashed by those brutal bullies in the past. Sensing he's fallen into a deadly trap, our hero stops dead in his tracks, trembling with fear. He tries to escape this eerie situation by lying about an urgent appointment, but getting away doesn't seem that easy. Yo grabs our hero by the shoulder with his claw-like hand, stating seriously that they've almost arrived, closing off every escape route one by one. Forced to see it at least once, our fresh blood finally manages to enter that mysterious and eerie place in the pitch-black night. Cursing himself for following them like a desperate fool, Gilsu realizes he must finally face the bitter truth. Behind those fake smiles and polite manners, she realizes the hard way that there's yet another empire of lies and dark intentions. As the door creaks open, the boy, thinking he's about to be bullied again, shuts his eyes tight and holds his breath, waiting for the worst to happen. But when he opens his eyes, he finds not a torture chamber, but two warriors brutally punching each other in the middle of a ring, and a whole different world. In the middle of this chaos, with students betting and screaming like wild animals, he sees a fighter land a massive kick right to his opponent's face. As our hero watches in horror at that sledgehammer kick landing right in the middle of the face, it's finally time for the fighters in the ring to swap out. While Dooley bursts into laughter at our rookie hero's shock, our guy starts to wonder what kind of hellhole this place really is. The senior explains with pride that this is the school's secret fighting arena, the greatest and bloodiest privilege granted to students. As our hero tries to process what's happening, an authoritative voice rising from the stairs calls his senior friend to the center of the ring to fight immediately. The formidable student council president of Hexagon Gate, feared by everyone, suddenly appears on stage in all her dark glory. When the president harshly asks who the scrawny kid beside him is, Duval explains that the boy is new blood who just transferred to the class today. While the crushing and terrifying pressure from the opponent makes our hero tremble, the boy in the ring openly challenges his senior to a vengeful brawl. The boy, shouting that he'll make them pay dearly for mocking his eyebrows, fiercely vows to give his senior opponent hell in the ring and make him regret it. As Dooley glides toward the ring without hesitation, our protagonist begins to pick out the familiar faces and the schemes unfolding in this crazy arena. As Chunkin introduces himself as the council president with his massive frame, Gilsu is left speechless before this giant of a man. Stunned by the man's massive size, our hero notices all the students holding their breath, locked onto the great carnage about to unfold in the ring. As those heavy, sledgehammer-like punches fly back and forth, the boy can't quite wrap his head around why these people he considers friends are tearing each other apart. Chun, still questioning the concept of friendship in his mind, sees the potential and quality in this year's freshman, and is overcome by a wild excitement. Faced with a man praising the fighting skills of these rookies, our guy is truly stunned by what a psychopath the council president really is. The giant man, arms crossed and grinning proudly, screams that this is the school's hidden dark side and its true identity revealed. While our protagonist apologizes sheepishly, unable to grasp the situation, Chun decides to explain the core logic of this savage order bit by bit. Claiming no bullies exist at school, Chun states that violence exists here as in any community, but it follows strict rules. The president says the only difference is that this violence is legal within this arena, emphasizing that outside bullying turns into a fair fight here. Knowing our hero's past pain, the chairman whispers that everyone here is equal and he can freely release all his rage in this ring. A place of institutionalized violence, this is the Six-Gate Arena, and Chun, who hates complications, sternly reminds everyone to listen closely to the rules. Stating he won't repeat himself, the president says the first rule is that this place is private and exclusive to Six-Gate's students. Those who have left school due to graduation or any other reason are strictly forbidden from even stepping foot inside this gate. The second rule is that all fights must be unarmed, strictly one-on-one, and no third party can interfere in the fight. Lastly, every match requires a student council member to referee and act as the final authority in determining the winner. And at that very second, that horrible man suddenly appears. The guy, grinning from ear to find our safari in that state, asks where he's been as if they were old friends. Gilsu immediately marks this guy as the one who bumped into him this morning, while that student invites him to a dance in the ring, meaning a fight. Wanting to make them pay for his shirt cleaning with blood, Chun gleefully pushes his victim forward as a rival appears. Even if he thinks he'll learn by getting beaten, Gilsun is clearly dripping with fear and reluctance. Seeing the severity of the situation, the student council president recalls the famous fourth rule that bans all violence in school. Any grudges within school grounds must be settled in the ring, otherwise a disciplinary slap is waiting at the door. But the most vital rule was that fighters must focus only on the pleasure, without giving in to fear. When the inevitable happens and Gilsu finds himself in the ring, he starts wondering what could possibly be fun about getting beaten up. Since his routine was just getting beaten every day, he had already given up the ghost when the referee raised his hand to signal the execution. Stuck in the middle of the ring, Gilsu knows all too well that his chance of winning against this monster is less than zero. After all, her 3-year career as a victim of professional bullying whispers only one thing to her. Run away now and don't look back. But the gong is ear-piercing, and the students in the stands cheer wildly, as if watching gladiators in Rome. Just as the fight is about to start, one of the guys on the sidelines comments on how unlucky our new kid is. Whether it's bad luck or fate that Inhei ran into a nuisance like Ken on his first day is unknown, but people are questioning this guy's reputation. The first student jumps right in, listing the chilling rumors about Inhei and how she's the sister of that notorious monster. Even though he just set foot in school this year, his reputation preceded him. His opponent is just waiting for him to make a move. Since Gilsu doesn't attack, the guy mocks him, saying he'll take it easy on him since it's his first time. But ours is frozen solid. Fear spreads through his veins like poison as his body freezes, everything happening around him driving him into deep anxiety. With her opponent nowhere to be seen, Inhei loses patience, takes charge, and charges straight at our Saphir like a bull. As he approaches to land a heavy punch, Gilsu's knees buckle with fear, and his whole body begins to tremble violently. Fearing that the giant guy will crush him, our hero gets nauseous, and then that disgusting event no one expected happens in the ring. Neither the students nor the opponent, now completely covered in vomit, expected such a defense mechanism. Inhei, who's been holding back until now, snaps at this disgusting move, forcing a stomach-churning break in the fight. In this brief gap, students start showering our hero with mocking comments about how he made history by throwing up in the middle of the ring. While the crowd bursts into laughter, Inhe's charisma is shattered, and he shouts around in a rage, ordering a towel immediately. As Gilsu lies devastated on the ring floor, he questions the logic of hitting someone, as someone who has never rebelled in his life. Even if he's been bullied all his life, by the next day, yesterday's squirting incident is already school hallway gossip. Hiding in a bathroom stall, our protagonist Sinam shrinks in fear as she hears the students outside making fun of her. He trembles more as he thinks about what's coming. He's playing out scenarios in his head that he's no different from a dead man in this school now. Thinking this was a normal school, only to find himself in a teen version of an underground fight club, was a total nightmare. Reluctantly, the student council president's annoying advice to have some fun keeps echoing in your ears. But he knows when things get serious, he won't even land a punch, and that sickening scene from yesterday will likely repeat. Then a tiny glimmer of hope appears in his dark world as he remembers the rules strictly forbidding violence within school grounds. Thinking he'd be safe in the school building, Chun was in class pushing himself to the limit, sweating through 1,000 push-ups. Plus, completing this impossible mission while carrying 2 students on his back proves just how unbalanced his power is. Watching Chun show off his success, Gilsu seriously wonders if this guy is really just a high school student. After the morning workout, Chun asks Hours if he has any questions. Gilsu breaks into a cold sweat as he tries to speak. When he asks about the arena, the president starts crushing the kid's pride by asking if he's going to puke again. The other students jump in, reminding each other of yesterday's gross but funny moment and bursting into laughter. But Gilsu doesn't intend to be mocked. There's an actual and much more serious reason why he came here today. The moment he declares he'll never step foot in that damn arena again, the air in the room turns to ice, leaving everyone in shock. When Chun asks why he's giving up without taking a single hit, Gilsu honestly reveals his lack of self-confidence. He finds no joy in hitting anyone and, unable to grasp the logic of this brutal fighting, he stands his ground and insists on his demand. Faced with this firm rejection, the student council president gives a devious smile, making it clear the message was received. This basically meant the green light for all kinds of bullying against Gilsu at school, but our naive friend had no idea. That arena manager-looking guy immediately announces to the whole world that our poor rookie is no longer under that sacred protection shield. Our unfortunate hero, slumping at his school desk, is brooding over what the hell this mysterious arena setup business is all about. While you're wondering what to ruin next in your life, a bunch of ugly bullies from other classes have already burst into corner hours. Sure, they'd found the right place. These guys were definitely the same ones who got beaten up yesterday. The leader of the group grins maliciously with great appetite, recalling the fresh rumors that the rookie is now unprotected and vulnerable. Wasting no time, he delivers such a brutal blow to Gilsu's face that the sheer force of it literally hangs in the air. He whispers that he'll painfully teach her what the arena means in this high school hell, declaring he needs a fresh slave right now. While they were officially declaring our hero a personal servant, the other students around completely ignored it all as if they were just talking about the weather. They burst into laughter and started chatting, looking at the kid who was a mess after taking a heavy knee to the face. One of the group members spills the beans that this poor guy was beaten to a pulp at his old school and fled here out of fear. The guy was quite pleased with what he heard. He already figured it out when you started hitting him, but this last bit of info was the icing on the cake. Our poor guy started hosting his special visitors in his room during every break. Gilsu finally got a bitter taste of that famous arena guard nonsense, and understands everything now. Our unlucky friend was the only victim of that disgusting system where you get beaten if you don't join, and turn into a live punching bag if you stay out of the arena. As his hellish life shifted gears again, he found himself back in the faculty lounge within a week, full of sighs. Before even getting used to the smell of school, he threw that legendary dropout petition on the desk and spoke up. And he had his excuse ready. Supposedly, the gentleman is going to take those life-saving exams much more seriously. In this situation, it can now be done. There was nothing. Gilsu sincerely apologized to his parents 1,000 times, over and over, for being a useless son just like himself. Fleeing from school, he thinks the nightmare is finally over and is already lost in sweet, rosy dreams of the normal life starting tomorrow. Suddenly, it was right in front of him. He questioned in that chilling tone why you're running like a coward and why you won't even try. The president was completely confused. What was this weird kid's real problem that made him act so wimpish despite everything? Gilsu only apologized. Because he knew all too well that a fight-crazed person would never, ever understand what he was really feeling. Our poor loser Gilsu keeps blabbering about how violence is a deep trauma for him because of all the beatings he's taken over the years. He's finally snapped, and all he wants to do is throw in the towel. While he keeps up this sob story, the president cuts him off and says he's even more spineless than he imagined. Ours is getting even more confused. Shun firmly states that you don't need to be a professional boxer to fight, in order to resolve this huge misunderstanding once and for all. Technique is all nonsense. If you have no teeth, bite with your gums. Even if you have no strength, put your heart into it and get up from that table like a man. After all, that's exactly what fighting is. But then again, in these critical seconds, our main character doesn't even lift a finger to protect himself. Held tightly by the collar, Gilsu acts completely innocent, looking bewildered as if he has no idea why all this is happening to him. Losing her cool, the student council president asks him if he really thinks the world outside school is some rosy fairy tale. If he thinks skipping school is the answer, he's dead wrong. At this rate, he's doomed to be a total loser for the rest of his life. Even though he's let go after this mild scolding, our loser protagonist doesn't really take this advice seriously. Because to her, the president is a born monster. As Gilsun sets off, those all too familiar and ominous faces appear before her again. But this date is different. The bully gang is gleefully discussing Gilsu's one-way ticket out of school. One of them steps forward and asks how he could leave school without consulting them. Because if this kid leaves, it means they'll have no one left to push around. They've been craving a real punching bag since you set up this fight arena, and now they've truly gone wild. The bully snaps at him in a creepy tone, asking if he really thought everything would just end by deciding to leave school. Gilsu drags him to a secret place, and soon our hero gets a solid beating in a dark alley. Students mocking the only loser of the Hexagate school treat him like a living toy with punches and kicks. As Gilsu begs them to stop, thinking he's going to die, a guy appears in the distance, puffing on a cigarette and watching it all with great pleasure. He says the boy should be grateful for the situation. If he had been at this school during his brother's time, he'd probably be 6 feet under by now. He changes the subject, checks his phone, and immediately questions the accuracy of that critical info right then and there. After thanking the informant, he looks at the screen and is truly shocked by how luxurious a place our loser mascot lives in. And at that exact moment, he begins to recite Gilsu's home address with an eerie calmness, piece by piece, and starts to smirk. Our psycho was pointing at the apartment, and with that creepy demonic smile, he was basically announcing they'd be back for tea next time. Laughing, they say they'll do anything to see the poor brat more often now that he's not in the arena. In this brutal fighting pit ruled by bullies, our hero panics and wonders exactly what these psychopaths are going to do. In Hai, who won with the address in hand, does not answer. He adds that she should stay silent, or he'll ruin the kid by spreading a scandalous photo to the whole world. He'll send photos of you beaten up to everyone at school. As the bully's claws strike his face, the boy begins to wonder in pain where he went wrong. What you went through is a total nightmare. He imagined that everything would finally end and this dark abyss would be left far behind. He hoped for peace, as if a distant future had promised it. But no matter how he tries to detach from reality, an inevitable force pulls him into this quagmire. There's no way out of this hellhole. Right then, Gilsu remembers the council president's strange but life-saving words. No need to try hard like a pro. In this street fight, fighting techniques were nothing but a waste of time. One should use every bit of filth at their disposal. However, ours is in a state where he's unable to make even the simplest move to protect himself. With that, our hero shudders with a chilling smile on the brink of madness, and suddenly begins to scream as if to burst his lungs. While 3 bullies corner him, and Hai says how funny and entertaining it is to hear this loser scream in pain. While filming him, he orders his henchmen to hold him tight. Gilsu looks helplessly at the sky and cries out, "Why me?" He questions what happened to him and his mistake. As Gilsu struggles wildly, the bully's phone flies through the air and unexpectedly crashes to the ground. As the device shatters and the screen splinters into pieces, the bully flies into a rage and shouts at his cronies to hold the kid even tighter. Losing all hope, our hero makes a dark decision, thinking that if he has no teeth to bite, he must use his gums to chew his enemy. And finally, she fights back by viciously biting the bully's hand. Stunned by this unexpected pain, the bully struggles to break free from the grip. But it's already too late. The boy must have etched the president's toxic bile into his mind. And so, that life-changing final decision is finally made. Though things start off exciting, Gilsu ends up on the ground after the bully with the mangled hand lands a massive punch on his face. The boy writhes on the ground in pain, but even though he's standing, he feels just as much agony and suffering as his opponent. Our hero wipes the pool of blood from his mouth and mocks the bully, sarcastically questioning the immense pain he's feeling. Innie won't even understand what happened. Then, blinded by rage, Gilsu screams that if he's going down, he's taking everyone with him. He will drag everyone down to the depths of hell with him. Innie might be a bit shaken, but he knows a cornered rat will eventually bite. But even if he rebels, he's still just as pathetic. Without a second's delay, they pounce on our hero like two bullying hounds. As they approach, Gilsu cunningly throws a handful of sand into their eyes, instantly paralyzing their advance. At that moment, he realizes he must set aside noble fighting techniques or empty rules and do whatever dirty trick it takes. Ultimately, fighting doesn't have to look aesthetic. Right now, his only reality is survival and somehow getting rid of these scumbags. As for Innie, he instantly grasps the boy's dirty sand move and wonders in amazement how he pulled it off in that brief moment he hit the ground. Even though the boy's journey has been miraculous, the bullies stop teasing and close in with all their might to finish Gilsu for good. At this point, the child feels like they're losing their mind. He can no longer even grasp why he's fighting these psychopaths or what he's actually after. Time flies, and as the brutal clashes in the arena continue, the heavy door of the place suddenly creaks open all the way. Ken turns around to see what's going on. Unexpectedly, that former student who had long given up on the arena has returned. He shouts that he wants to return to the fights. This development leaves the entire crowd there in great shock and deep confusion. But our hero is now determined. After hearing the president's impressive words, he won't miss this golden opportunity again. The council president finally has high hopes for this new brat. And he thinks she's actually much more interesting than he expected. Welcomed back into the ring, our hero raises his guard for a final showdown with that relentless, despicable bully. It froze up last time. Another bully in the audience seethes with rage, believing he should be the one to thrash that cow. This guy is the gang's famous number 2, Yango Park. But his sidekick gently taps his shoulder, urging him to calm down a bit. Suggests he keep his mouth shut since they're not alone. Giving the president a devious look, Yango states he already knows the rules he must follow there. Unfortunately, our hero is taking heavy blows in the duel right now. A hard punch to the face is followed by a violent knee to the stomach. Then another blow lands. Proud of himself, Innie begins to ruthlessly mock this poor brat who thinks he can stand against him. As another sledgehammer punch lands on the hero's face in their duel, the bully keeps venting his spite to satisfy his ego. It shows how pathetic the fake dreams that the boy built are. He doesn't stop and delivers a hard, bone-crushing kick to Gilsun's face. Lifting him by the collar, he asks in a mocking, arrogant voice if it's already too late for his opponent to feel regret. But when he looks into the eyes of that once cat-like boy, the unwavering and predatory stare he sees there rattles the bully. They are no longer facing someone who bows down. This unexpected and defiant stance pushes the bully's primal rage to its absolute peak. Innie, like a total sadist, starts slapping his opponent's face, mocking and humiliating him. It brings down blows upon the fool who dares resist, forcing them to accept their pathetic fate. In magical cartoons, he tells it to shut up by reminding it it's not alive, and adds that famous finishing touch. As he delivers another heavy kick to our lead's face, the other students watch this brutality in the ring in silence. While they admire the senior bully's brute strength, they secretly fear the new kid will be crushed to a pulp. The kid's been beaten to a pulp, yet our bully is crazy enough to think he hasn't even crossed the line yet. He's relaxed because his opponent hasn't kicked the bucket yet, but Gilsu, looking like a washed-up hero, miraculously stands back up. Seeing the boy ready to keep fighting, In-hai wonders why that final blow didn't finish it. He goes to the boy, who should have fainted by now, and pulls his ear hard to warn him not to push his luck. The bully warns that if he persists, he'll end up 6 feet under, successfully rattling our naive protagonist's nerves. Even after being beaten half to death, the reality of being killed hits the boy's numb brain like a sledgehammer. It's finally Gilsu's showtime. He grabs the bully's waist and starts pushing him like a beast. Compared to the hellish agony he's endured so far, he realizes this guy's punches are like mere fly bites. As he drags In-hai to the edge and slams him onto the concrete floor, a wave of excitement breaks out among the crowd. Watching the secret monster wake up inside this new kid, the students are about to swallow their tongues in shock. Lying on the ground, In-hai can't believe the boy won't give up, muttering that she just let her guard down for a moment. Right then, our hero prepares to land the punch of a lifetime right on the face of this demon that's been tormenting him for so long. Everything was going a bit too smoothly, until the bitter truth reappeared with its famous slap. Striking faster with a snake-like move, the veteran bully throws a punch, once again prideful in his arrogance. Against the man claiming those clumsy strikes won't touch him, our hero turns his will into his sole weapon. Failing to overpower him, Gilsu delivers a headbutt, rattling the bully's brain and shocking everyone in the stands with such a move. While the rookie's resistance charms everyone, the council president watches what's unfolding in icy silence. Chung knows that while the adrenaline masks the pain, the boy's organs are on the verge of failing. Gilsu earns points for his incredible toughness, refusing to give up even after being knocked down. With a double kick, In-hai flings our protagonist off him, managing to open up some space and catch his breath. Amid the moans of the boy rolling to the other side of the ring in pain, a fuming Zorba stands up and grinds his teeth. Determined to finish the job, the bully faces our protagonist, who stands tall without showing even a flicker of fear. Realizing how empty these bullies who made his life a misery actually are, our hero is filled with great rage. She realizes she's been living in fear for nothing, understanding she's always had the power to show her claws. Seeing this epic resistance in the ring, all the students start shouting the new kid's name to show their support. Gritting his teeth, Gilsu lets out a true war cry for the first time and lunges at the tyrant like a wild tiger. While questioning why he spent so long running from people like this, he packs all his hatred into a single fist, ready to explode. Unfortunately, things don't end like those glorious dreams, and our protagonist takes a solid right hook to the face before he can even land a punch. The winner of this battle between the two is now clear, and the best begins to smirk with great arrogance. Facing the tyrant who vowed never to show a weakness again, our hero gets knocked out and falls to the ground like a lifeless doll. As Zorba declares victory and leaves, Gilsu barely opens his eyes on a stretcher, his body torn to pieces. With every bone in his body aching, he tries to figure out where he is and keeps wondering if he had passed out. He didn't dream of winning anyway. Even just being able to defend himself was a great victory for him. That boy, who spent all his strength just to land a single blow on that man, had done more than his best. But he thinks if he could have focused a bit more instead of just rushing in while throwing that punch, everything could have been very different. Perhaps focusing on his lower extremities, as he had from the start, was the real key to changing the course of the battle. Still, deep down she knew very well that a Kurtengard like In-hai wouldn't fall while being this high up. The fact that he could have changed his fate if he were just a bit stronger makes the boy's entire body tremble with a massive wave of rage. When our hero opens his eyes and sees Kungu, his mind is still foggy and confused as he tries to grasp what's happening. While asking how he is, the president calmly states that the child's safety is entirely under his responsibility. As president, it's his greatest responsibility to personally deal with that loser who lost consciousness and is crawling on the floor. He also claims the arena isn't just for slaughtering people, but actually exists to protect the students. Anyway, he gives that cold warning that this favor is for today only, and rules will get much tougher starting tomorrow. Because as of tomorrow, our guy will no longer be a student, so he'll never be allowed through this door again. So he's basically being fired. As Kung leaves after saying this, he tells the boy to take good care of himself. But still kneeling on the ground, our weary and helpless hero asks what he should do. The student council president turns back in shock, and he shouts with his new, determined, revenge-driven attitude that he will never give up on school. In this situation, he asks the pro fighter how to gain such massive power that no one would dare mess with him again, and exactly what he needs to do. To hear such bold words from a student who was a total failure and a loser until yesterday, our master fighter Young, it really hypes you up. So he states that training the weakest one is also a primary duty of the council presidency. In this situation, the veteran fighter asks our little hero if he's ready for the hellish days ahead. And before the kid can answer, he lands a solid uppercut to his stomach. With this shocking blow, our guy is officially done for. Kung asks how the punch tastes, and if you feel like you're going to die. Even this simple punch could rupture his internal organs and cause major damage, yet the council. With a devious smile, the president clearly states this is just the beginning, as he'll toughen the kid up through training and make him crawl. Looking back, the whole series of humiliations and bullying in poor Gilsu's life actually began that day, the moment he stood right in front of a flying slipper. Meanwhile, the other students playing games offered fake apologies and pretended to be worried, but they were laughing on the inside. Gilsu, in first grade, tried to quietly move past this unpleasant incident, saying he was fine with that pathetic attitude even though he was in terrible pain. Because of this wimpy reaction, the slipper incident proved our protagonist is a victim who quietly accepts everything and never speaks up. Slowly, the bullies ganged up on him, mocking him at every turn and ruining his life, saying the oppressed deserved to be beaten. Since he couldn't defend himself, being dragged on the ground and brutally kicked by crowds had become his inevitable and disgusting daily fate. Giving in to others' demands and running their errands had become nothing more than a miserable routine for our hero. Before he knew it, he became so weak and spineless one day that he couldn't even defend himself anymore. But today the tide turns, and Gilsu vows to transform into a real monster. No trace of his former pathetic self remains. He wants to leave that lowly doormat life behind forever. So the student council president decides to start that painful but definitely worth it training program that will finally bear fruit. What's happening now will definitely play a decisive role in our hero's transformation into the legendary king of violence. At school, our hero complains about the ache in his ribs, seriously considering the possibility that something might already be broken. But he painfully remembers calling Chung even during breaks to speed up his body tempering process. Despite these harsh commands from the president, Gilsu is still a bit hesitant, and feels a deep sense of fear inside. Then suddenly, a voice echoes. Du-min, shocked to see his friend there, calls out to him because he thought he had given up. When our hero says he's changed his mind, his friend is overjoyed and gets hyped up, thinking the rookie is finally getting used to the arena. He gives Gilsu a sincere hug, praising his great courage, and naturally manages to make our guy a little embarrassed. But just then, at the top of the stairs, that notorious and annoying gang of bullies reappears in all their glory. Their leader is thrilled the former punching bag is back in the arena, mockingly asking him, "Is it for revenge?" He asks if you're coming and bursts out laughing. He leans in close and threatens the rookie, saying he needs to know his place or he'll be leaving in a body bag next time. Witnessing the group's arrogant attitude, Daman is shocked by the stern expression he sees on his friend's face. Because there's no trace of fear in the kid, just pure and burning rage. Gilsu vows to grow stronger so he'll never lose to these scumbags again. Later on the school roof, our guy takes that first punch right in the face like a sledgehammer. Then, an even more shocking blow hits his stomach. Chung tells the boy to keep his eyes wide open and not be afraid to look directly at his opponent's aggressive punches. The council president grabs the rookie by the collar and shows him the true meaning of discipline. He reminds him that he's never allowed to fight until his training is complete. But Gilsu is still a little confused, because he's not quite sure if this one-sided beating can really be called training. Days go by, and these brutal torture sessions on the school roof continue every day without stop. Our main character gets beaten to a pulp every single time. It's a hell of a workout learned only through pain. In the school's fighting arena, Inji Kong brutally takes down his opponents, securing yet another massive victory. Leaving his opponent unconscious on the ground, the other students in the stands whisper that this monster no longer has any mercy. As soon as the fight ends, our rookie and the others are whispering and betting on his bruised ego. If Inhai had kept his head up, things would have been different, but that weakness eventually became his undoing. When he sees you bad-mouthing our old-timers, he decides to settle the score. He's asking them why they aren't fighting if they're so confident. Faced with this challenge, the brat realizes he's about to get beaten and instantly turns into a scared kitten, literally starting to apologize. He knows he stands no chance against such a monster. Even though Inhai deflated the brat's ego, he's still fuming with rage. This nonsense really gets to you. Then he asks his colleagues if they've seen that famous Gilsu today. But no one saw him during the break or anywhere else. They say the kid doesn't really come around here, that this place isn't for him. Escaping the arena infuriates Inha. It's a total act of rebellion. The kid is straight up rejecting the arena. But thinking a bit deeper about what escaping the arena means, something comes to the old man's mind. Suddenly, he remembers that student council president. He instantly remembers that sneaky guy who took down the kid's protective shield. Thinking back to the moment the kid left the arena, a sinister and genius smile appears on his face. The time for revenge is near. That massive plan to end their trouble once and for all is now ready. She finally found a way to play cat and mouse with this kid, whom she saw as the school's biggest loser. Gilsu is hitting the track for a night workout. Even if he's dead tired, remembering the humiliation and pain he's endured only makes him more driven. He has no intention of giving up, but he still has serious doubts about whether this strange training method will actually work. That's not enough for a man who wants to climb to the top as soon as possible. To become the world's strongest, one must endure all kinds of hardships. Suddenly, a red motorcycle piercing the darkness swerves toward the boy at high speed, cutting his run short. The motor hits the child's elbow, making him groan in pain. The driver stops immediately and asks what happened, acting as if he weren't at fault. Two more bikers roll up to them. The bully immediately starts blaming and scolding the kid, claiming his bike got scratched. In this strange and tense situation, Gilsun is left speechless. Even if he's polite enough to apologize, his intentions are not good at all. He says they need to have a firm but kind talk with the damaged pupil. Looks like this score won't be settled here, my friends. He says the repair costs 20,000 rials and pins the bill on our poor friend. This is nothing short of an attempted robbery. Our hero is rightfully rebelling. He's the one who hit me, but he's also the one asking for money. What's more, he plainly admits he doesn't have a penny to his name. But this bully doesn't listen to logic. He's just looking for trouble, grabbing the kid's hair and continuing to humiliate and degrade him. He lands a punch right in the middle of his face. And the jerk has the nerve to laugh and blame Gilsu as if he started the fight. The other punks join in with laughter. And they have the nerve to give false testimony and claim the kid was the one who hit first. To them, the situation is a complete comedy. While Gilsu lies dazed on the ground, one of the bullies mocks him, asking why he still hasn't answered. The boy's silence surprises them, but in that moment, our character undergoes an incredible psychological breakdown. Strangely, he no longer feels a shred of fear inside. Since the boy doesn't react, the bully softens his demand and pretends to be merciful. He says it'll all be over if you just give him all the money you have. At that exact second, Gilsu finally realizes the source of this strange courage. The beatings he took from that monster already pushed him past his fear threshold. She no longer has any reason to fear simple bullies like these. He shoves the bully's hand off his head, sparking his first major rebellion against this ugly abuse, and unleashes a storm on the man's face with an unexpected, sharp left hook. While asking why he'd give money to someone like you, his fist is still buried in that punk's face. What a satisfying moment. After that solid punch, he's officially declaring to the whole world that he's not afraid of these pathetic bullies anymore. But unfortunately, the bully recovers quickly and grabs our hero's hand. Even if he overcomes his fear, he's at a loss now because of his lack of technique. The fear is gone, but those weak fists still lack enough destructive power. In desperation, Gilsu starts throwing everything he has, trying to stay alive. He's trying to wear him down with random strikes while thinking about his next move. But there is a bitter truth. He's still a rookie. He only learned how to be a punching bag, not to cause damage. When it's the bully's turn, things suddenly turn pitch black for our hero.
Hello.
With a kick to the face, Zorba hurls him into the arms of the other thugs. They grab him firmly from behind, making it completely impossible for him to escape or resist. Bullied is mocking them and getting ready to finish them off. The gang leader grabs those glowing brass knuckles and prepares with the cold blood of a savage executioner to land the final blow. "Get that loser!" he roars. The rude man claims that after this hefty and bloody beating, the boy will finally understand his place and his limits. He'll see who he's dancing with. Just as that fatal blow is about to land on his face, time in the street seems to stop as if by a mysterious hand. The punk warns mockingly, telling him to grit his teeth. Just as the punch is thrown, an unexpected shift in energy is felt in the air. But descending from the sky like a shadow, Devil suddenly appears as the savior of the day. The bully is literally suspended in midair before he even knows what hit him. Before he can even react, Devil's hard knee smashes into his face. The guy loses consciousness instantly, and just collapses like a sack of potatoes. Gilsu is fascinated by his friend's talent. Devil stands there with that same old cool smile. Actually, he immediately realizes that the one being attacked is his own bestie. But he never misses that rogue shadow sneaking up right behind him. Fending off the move with a swift counter, he strikes back at his opponent with double the damage. Desperate, the last member of the group makes an unthinkable move and tries to charge at Gilsu's friend with an iron bar. But before he can even get close, he gets a massive slap right in the face and hits the pavement instantly. The guy passes out and hits the deck instantly, while the surviving girl is frozen stiff, paralyzed with fear. On one side, the girl scolding the unconscious kid for leaving her alone. On the other, our guy marveling at his bestie's massive power. Gilsu is truly impressed by his friend's soulless, expressionless face despite this terrifying power. Right then, the girl in the group, shaking with tension, approaches the boys and asks if they realize who they're dancing with. Turns out they're the toughest freshmen from Jinxing Tech. He threatens that if they tell their brothers, it'll all be over. But with the group leader waking up and raining on the parade, everyone's attention suddenly shifts that way. Wiping blood from his face, the guy mutters that his brothers arriving won't help one bit. Because even on the kid's school uniform, that famous and intimidating Six Gates emblem is shining. As he picks up his unconscious friend and stands, he admits he would never have made such a huge mistake if he had known who he was up against. They state they wouldn't do something so stupid, hop on their bikes as fast as they came, and clear out without looking back. With only the bitter smell of defeat left behind and the matter settled, Dole wonders exactly how the feud with these bullies first began. Then, our lead tells his best friend one by one about all the strange and annoying things he's been going through lately. She even talks about those weird training sessions with the president. Devil grasps the gravity of the situation, realizing the kid is fixated on the battle in the arena. But no matter how hard our hero works, he says it's still a bracelet. To break the heavy and gloomy atmosphere, his friend says his arm waving is hilarious and starts roasting Gilsu. Gathered around the campfire, the Six Gates bullies discuss how to pack up the bracelet, trying to bypass the arena system. Their leaders state that it all started when this rookie shot himself in the foot. Fry is the first person in the whole school to openly say no to the fighting arena. They say any bully or loser who can put up a fight can scrap in this arena. Because this is a place where violence is the only rule. In this arena where violence levels the playing field, things sometimes don't go as expected. Students can flex with this, but when you look closely, the other side of the coin isn't so bright. It's also a bitter truth that some cowards just watch from the sidelines instead of fighting, keeping their loser mentality. Yitteran's gang agrees with him, knowing well they hide behind the rules just to stay comfortable at school. But word's spreading everywhere that the idiot who ruined this comfort zone is the new transfer student. Because if one of these weaklings is challenged, the entire balance could shift. In light of this, they'll finally realize they must fight at all costs, like Gilsu, to avoid ending up in such a miserable state. Afterwards, Ayane's eyes fill with ambition because she knows very well that the arena is now entirely her playground. Afterwards, this punk is itching for another round and asks his king if there was anything wrong with his methods, since after all, he didn't break any rules in the arena. Sensing the guy's true intent, the boss taps his shoulder and gives him a small tip, saying it's better for INE not to pull any empty tough guy stunts. Then, with that nasty smirk, he apologizes for the brat's noise and ironically says he'll be more careful next time. On the school roof, our friend's training is in full swing. Even during breaks, he takes hits to the face until he's on the verge of fainting. But unexpectedly, he regains his senses, manages to parry one of the blows, and finally achieves his first success. Noticing that he's no longer trembling like before, he takes real pride in how his student has adapted to those sledgehammer-like punches and shown massive growth, putting him in a great mood. Getting cocky after making some progress, he's gearing up to attack the president with everything he's got. After all, he knows if he wants to win by the end of the day, he must land much more effective and devastating blows than last time. So, with great fury, the guy throws punch after punch as if beating the air, but Chunk dodges every move as if he's dancing. Unable to take it anymore, the president delivers a solid punch to the boy's stomach while shouting at him to keep his mouth shut. The furious president tells him to stop making those weird and funny noises while attacking, because it makes him look like a total loser. After dropping that tip, he explains step by step how everything actually boils down to those 1 or 2 famous combo strategies. With a proud look on his face, Chunk claims that if he masters this strategy, he'll win any fight smooth as butter. After training on the roof, the duo heads to a place called Arcade Cliff. When ours sees how dilapidated and ruined the building is, he wonders what they're doing there. The student council president, ignoring the complaints, drags our hero inside. When he opens that rusty door wide, a training dummy is standing right there in front of them. Gilsu never expected to see something so functional in a hole like this. This device will be absolutely perfect for his workouts. Losing no time, Chun starts the rookie's lesson and orders him to raise both fists to chin level. Tuck your chin way down. Then our lead should stand up straight, with feet shoulder width apart. He should step back slightly with one leg to stabilize his balance. So he should throw the first punch lightly with his left hand, like a caress. After that sneaky move called a jab, the fighter must unleash all their weight on the opponent like a sledgehammer with the second punch. Make sure you rotate your hips and explode with that massive power. Despite its power, this scrap machine still stubbornly shows one. Our hero is amazed by his master's sledgehammer-like punching power. Theory class is over. Now it's time to break a sweat for Gilsu. It's time to prove how much nonsense you've learned so far. He visualizes in his mind exactly how the first punch should be thrown. Tap lightly with your left to gauge the distance, then explode that devastating power from your hip through your right fist straight to the target. So Gilsu gets fired up, believing he's finally solved it. But things are about to take an unexpected turn there. The machine's spitting out that annoying score again. Suddenly, the student council president approaches to teach our hero a real lesson. Sun notes that weak punches won't work while wrecking the puppet. Turns out that damn machine has actually been broken for a long time. This antique device, which only works with precise hits, finally surprises everyone by showing 2 points. Looks like there's finally some progress. Our hero needs to hit it harder to convince the machine. Only then can he truly get approval for this job. He must prove he can damage his opponent. In this case, that huge guy is basically barking orders at our lead like a slave. He tells him to find his own way to raise the score and kicks him out, saying, "Don't show your face until you reach the maximum." At school, a kid's world falls apart when he gets a text from his girlfriend saying things just won't work out. Everything ends suddenly. It's time to part ways now. Kaylin has left, and our friend just can't grasp why this sudden wind of separation is blowing. Just yesterday, walking hand in hand, everything seemed perfect. It feels impossible to understand why the girl is shifting gears like this now. Dazed, he bumps into someone and apologizes, but the guy turns out to be a total psycho who trips him and knocks him down. He slams the kid to the ground and turns his phone screen into a jigsaw puzzle. With one of his famous foul smirks, this guy and his team are enjoying themselves. He's mocking with the bully gang, saying it was just an accident. They don't even care about the child lying on the ground. They're just having fun there. The victimized child asks if it was intentional, but the demon shamelessly denies it, not even trying to hide his malice. In any case, if he has a problem, she says they can solve it through his pain, essentially presenting that dangerous, death warrant option to the boy. The poor kid curls up in fear and looks away. She quietly accepts this disgrace, saying it's her fault and that she wasn't paying attention. The other students around are just watching in horror. Fear has settled over the school hallways like a fog. The bully intimidates the child by claiming it wasn't violence, just a mistake, and leaves the scene in triumph. As soon as the bullies leave, Divi rushes to help his friend lying miserable on the ground, trying to pick him up. He takes his friend in his arms and asks what happened. This is actually nothing more than a clear, intentional attack. He suggests reporting the situation to the disciplinary committee, but our friend overstepped. He decides to downplay and drop it out of fear. He knows it's not worth dealing with scum like this, because he's terrified of escalating things, since he wasn't the main target. Divi respects his friend's pathetic decision, but the rage inside him is bubbling like a volcano ready to erupt. Gilsu is devouring the food in the cafeteria as if he's starving. The weekly punch grind has turned his stomach into a literal black hole. He thinks he's punched that damn machine hundreds of times, but the scoreboard stays the same, as if it's mocking him. While thinking about how frustrating the progress is, that famous bully suddenly pops up on the scene again. He's standing there with that disgusting smile on his face. Grinning as he tortures another student, the blonde guy dumps his food tray right onto our hero's innocent face. He tries to brush it off, but then he slaps our hero's back so hard it's like he's knocking the wind right out of him. It makes it look like a supposedly sincere encounter. But those heavy blows to Gilsun's back are actually turning into a full-on humiliation show. He says he's glad to see you again. With his hands up, he's literally testing if the kid is still the same loser as before. While their wrinkles grow, this foul gang gathers after the canteen incident and discusses everything with great appetite and joy. They're making fun of the kid's apology, laughing and taking pride in their disgusting behavior in the quiet corners of the school. Supposedly, the next move is to catch Gilsu in the arena and show the whole school a bloody lesson of what happens to those who dare mess with them. The blonde recklessly offers to take this on himself, saying his leader shouldn't get his hands dirty for such a trivial duel. He's questioning how the inhobu is made. But the blonde guy suddenly acts all mysterious, just wanting his leader to trust him. Back in the cafeteria, our hero, who once took a tray to the face, has now grabbed the bully's arm firmly and very fiercely. The blonde is surprised by this unexpected resistance and keeps mocking the boy, saying he looks even cuter when he's angry. Because Gilsu doesn't know what to do in this situation. Right now, the student council president has strictly forbidden him from fighting. He came home exhausted, beaten up so much at school his spirit was crushed. But with things having come this far, he couldn't back down. He thought he had no other choice because he'd been training like a beast for years. Right then, a miracle happened. Before he could do something he'd regret, Doyle jumped in and slammed his tray into the bully's face. The bully didn't know what hit him. Doyle laid down the law, saying you don't even touch a dog while it's eating. Our bully, screaming for justice with sauce all over his face, swore to find out who forced him to eat this dish. Our DeVille stood up like a man and shouted that it was time to put this insolent person in their place. With his face covered in ketchup, Zorba asked if the person in front of him had a death wish or had just lost their mind. DeVille added fuel to the fire with a mock apology, claiming it wasn't school violence. Supposedly his hand slipped, and it just flew off the tray. Then look at Zorba and make your intentions clear. Turns out the kid wanted this fight with all his heart. This whole food thing was just a perfect excuse. He invited the blonde gypsy to the arena, that is, to a beating paradise, that evening. Our hero went to his friend to express his gratitude. He was sorry he took such a risk to protect her, but Doyle's concern was actually something else entirely. She might look like an angel from the outside, but saving the child wasn't her only goal. He was sick of the gang's pathetic behavior in the arena and wanted to give them all some good old beat-down therapy. Our hero didn't quite grasp this deep philosophy. DeVille knelt beside him to explain the situation. He explained one by one to his friend, who was unfamiliar with arena culture, just how big of scumbags these guys were. These scumbags picked only weak students on BS excuses and practically executed them in the ring. When students got scared, they'd use psychological pressure by reminding them of that dark day our hero left the arena. Deville had been waiting for the chance to slap them down, and he finally caught that golden opportunity. He couldn't bear to see the arena turn into this. And our hero asked about his curious friend's love for this arena. He couldn't understand why someone so powerful cared so much about this secluded place. What would happen if it collapsed anyway? Our veteran warrior has begun to open the doors to his own dark past. Just like Gilsu, he too had been crushed. Years ago, this man who acts like a tiger now was wiped across the floor by local bullies every day. He remembered those disgusting days when shameful pictures were drawn on his body and he was tied to a pole. It was a total nightmare. Those monsters even tried to make him drink coffee mixed with urine. Back then, he was a fat and wimpy kid. Middle school had made his life a living hell. The world was so dark that he thought death would be his escape. Just when all seemed lost, a mysterious savior appeared to end this endless pain. A giant man stopped the boy from drinking that disgusting liquid and grabbed the bully by the wrist. He gripped the bully's hand as if to break it and put him in his place. Once Deville was saved, he immediately asked for this hero's name. Instead of giving his name, the man handed a brochure to the boy who had been beaten black and blue. He offered me that sacred art called diet boxing, which both helps you lose weight and teaches you how to fight. Turns out her rescuer was a trainer at a nearby gym. From that day on, Deville practically started worshipping boxing. His development was so rapid that he was turning into a monster every passing day. Long training sessions have paid off. Boxing changed his life completely. When he returned to school, that old loser kid was nowhere to be found. Those who once kicked him were now groveling at his feet for mercy, trembling in absolute terror. He shattered the school hierarchy, claimed the top spot, and no one dared to even look at him sideways. Sarah had seen firsthand how those kids playing tough crumbled when faced with real power. The arena rules might be a bit brutal, but it's the only place where people can fearlessly show off their power. That's why he had no intention of leaving the arena to these jackals. He told the rookie to watch the show tonight. As night fell, the screams from the arena signaled the start of the great showdown. Our yellow bully entered the arena with an arrogant look. Deville saw this challenge as foolishness. Even if Deville didn't understand why he wanted to fight here, he claimed he was making the mistake of his life. Deville drove the bully mad by asking if they were just going to talk or start a fight. Supporting his classmate from the stands, our hero hoped that gang would be taught a good lesson. With the referee's signal, that legendary fight where you'll hear the sound of cracking bones has finally begun. Our hybrid blondie has an ego trip and swings a left hook, but doesn't even catch a breeze. It's a total fiasco, really. Our bully kid gets a bit shocked when the moves are dodged, so he gets competitive and starts raining down punches. But it's all in vain. While fists fly, our veteran buddy lands a punch and sends the blondie on a quick trip to the neighborhood in the back, straight to the sky. The crowd watching the scene loves Deville's reflexes. It's like the kid is dodging bullets, taking all the praise one by one. Bleeding from his nose like a faucet, the bully painfully realizes his opponent is much faster and more agile than he expected. The blonde guy snaps to his senses as he takes the hits, realizing his opponent is a pro boxer whose feet are dancing in the ring, and he starts getting really tense. Wasting no time, Deville fires off caps like a machine gun, scaring the bully so much he almost wets himself. But when these hits feel like fly bites, the bully gets fired up again, thinking he's the real owner of the place, and launches a brutal attack. Thinking he solved his opponent's style, the blonde is about to break the guard and land a knockout hook, unaware that fate has a cruel surprise in store. Deville's punch is delivered right on target. With a sledgehammer blow to the jaw, the bully flips through the air and flies back. While our master smirks, the bully learns the hard way that the huge gap was actually just a simple bait. As punches explode in the air, the atmosphere heats up, the crowd goes wild, and for the first time, a real spark of hope shines in poor Gilsu's eyes. While our park hasn't even hit its stride yet, the crowds in Deville are already buzzing with rumors about this hidden power. Everyone thinks the blonde's winning streak is safe, but even though everything looks fine, Gilsu still has a nagging feeling of unease. Park tries to attack desperately and brutally, remembering his old glory days, but our wolf boxer parries these moves like child's play. Getting increasingly frustrated, Park wonders why he can't land a single hit, while Devil starts to flat-out mock him. Mocking the guy who can't even hit what's in front of him for having long-distance dreams, Devil lands a sharp jab right in his face. Reminded that he must swallow the small ones before the big prize, our hero lands a right hook, and the place suddenly falls dead silent. As the bully is crushed, Devil humiliates him further by asking why someone so weak would challenge everyone in his path. He even gives him advice, telling him to quit this business and stay smart to avoid bigger trouble in the future. Right then, the bully, struggling to get up, looks at the stands and suddenly feels his boss's cold gaze upon him. The leader in the crowd is giving Park a look that could kill, while our bully is praying he doesn't get angry and trying to finish up. After all that beating, the punk, having no intention of giving up, gets back up and finally admits his opponent is superior. But now, saying, "The game is about to change," he pulls his knees up above waist level and makes it clear he'll handle the situation his own way. Our master is surprised, of course. Park is finally showing everyone that unconventional, dark stance he uses in real street fights. With this style that has nothing to do with boxing, and that eerie seriousness in his eyes, Devil is practically daring him to land a hit. Staring at his opponent who's daring him to come closer, Devil quickly senses a kick might follow this weird stance and takes his guard, man. Aiming to beat his opponent at his own game, Devil swings a sudden kick to surprise Parka and try to end the match early. But what's that? The kick hurts Devil. Because our bully's shin is standing there as stiff as if it were made of concrete. Park throws a right hook, but our guy narrowly escapes and decides it's best to get away, immediately pulling back to create some distance. But the bully won't let go and collapses on top of him. Park is lowering his target this time, preparing a kick that will blow his skull wide open. Devil thinks he can block this kick with his arm, but the moment he does, the sheer impact literally makes his whole world go black right there. Our hero, feeling as if a massive iron pillar hit his face, is blown backward violently by the bully's savage kick. Park has literally turned into a Muay Thai monster. Our workers writhing in pain on the ground wonder what went wrong and where this power came from. It makes no sense that he's taking this much damage despite blocking. The impact feels specially tuned to shatter your bones into dust. Before he can think, he hops on the Park hill and throws another kick, snapping Devil's right forearm bone with a crack. As the bone-chilling sound of snapping echoes through the arena, the students in the stands are literally frozen in fear, not knowing what to do. As Gilsu's hopes fade and he looks pale, our master boxer desperately opens the distance to create some breathing room. Zorba mocks him, asking if his battery's dead, and boldly challenges his opponent to charge at him just like before. Even if Devil can't figure out why this guy's legs are harder than steel, he finally realizes the gap between them has reached a whole new dimension. Our veteran steps forward again, on guard for another kick, waiting silently and ready to bolt at any moment. Blocking would have been suicide, and then that unexpected, heavy punch to the face just leaves the kid completely stunned and dazed here. As the relentless punches land one by one, Park continues to smirk and laugh in a drunken haze of victory. Look how they're just sitting there, right across from the park. Devil focused so much on the kicks that he left himself completely exposed. A total disgrace. Amid Park's annoying laughter, Devil realizes too late that while trying to dodge the kicks, he left his face completely exposed, practically begging to be hit. Our poor guy couldn't even react. Zorba reminded him of what was said about not ruining the arena, mockingly shouting about how pathetic the boy was. When he called him a nobody, that treacherous kick to the veteran boxer's legs caused an indescribable and massive amount of damage. With his legs, the foundation of a boxer, failing him, Devil fell to his knees, and that blonde demon now held all the strings in his filthy hands. The park, snarling that the weak could not command it, seemed to erupt in arrogant cries of victory before its victim, whose legs had failed. The moment had come for Park to unleash his famous lethal kick that would end this fight forever. As the blow landed, an ear-piercing, terrifying noise erupted throughout the entire arena. Luckily, when he opened his eyes, that veteran fighter saw the referee step in just in time to save him from the bully's brutal attack. Student council member Heiho stepped in to stop that brutal assault, declaring the opponent could no longer fight and shielding the veteran fighter. He ended the fight, stating that continuing further would only result in a severe rule violation and disqualification. Although Park was annoyed that the fight was stopped early, he actually left quickly, grumbling in a state of satisfaction from that sadistic pleasure. After a long silence, she stared at our main character and whispered that maybe everything happened for this exact reason. The presence of those uncanny children in the audience, with their bone-chilling glares he had never seen before, whetted his appetite more than ever. Predicting a bloodier and more fun future for the arena, Blonde advised our boy to show up later next time. Our hero shouldered his wounded friend and led him away from that dark pit, trying to suppress the unquenchable rage burning inside. While Doyle blamed himself for boosting those scum's confidence in the arena, our protagonist did his best to comfort him and lift his spirits. He said he was winning at first, but those sneaky kicks ruined everything. The boy had no choice but to accept this strange situation. The bullies' kicks came with such terrifying force they left Doyle paralyzed by an indescribable fear, not knowing how to strike back. When they arrived, our veteran friend thanked him for his help and kindly asked one more time if he wanted a glass of cold water. Our guy refused, saying he had somewhere else very important to be. But at that moment, he chose not to explain to anyone where he was going at that hour. While Doyle couldn't make any sense of his friend's hurry, our scene jumps ahead a few minutes to that mysterious room in Block 3, right next to a box of shoes. Seeing brand new sneakers in a box, the man curiously asked why this mysterious gift was delivered specifically to his door. The sycophants who brought the gifts explained that they paid their pathetic debt of gratitude for being accepted by the gang, considering it a badge of honor. Even though In-Hai understood everything, she told the children in a cold voice that only pure, wild talent mattered to her, not fake gratitude. With that twisted, sadistic smile, the gang leader struck fear into the boys, ordering them to risk their lives and give it their all from now on. Park entered the room right after and, like a loyal dog, immediately told his boss that Gilsu probably wouldn't stop by school that day. While In-Hai asked why, Park excitedly and eagerly asked if it was finally time to give that idiot a proper beating. But the leader, saying plans had changed because of that blonde, laid out that shocking new and dark path for them step by step. Park was stunned at first, but after Doyle's fall, he quickly realized how much terror they'd spread and proved their power to everyone. That pathetic crowd, once afraid even of seniors, was already breaking into cold sweats everywhere, terrified by these new monsters before them. Realizing that touching a hero would damage their reputation, the bandits decided to search for a much more cunning and effective plan instead. One of the gang members proposed an idea to the leader to hang impressive posters all around the fighting arena to recruit new members. In-Hai rejected the idea at once, declaring that since they crushed the freshmen as planned, it was time to move to the main stage, the next phase. Suko, the third-grade tough guy, took a deep drag of his cigarette and sneered, questioning who these insolent kids were with pure disdain. Our sadistic leader, In-Hai, just said she wanted to pay a little courtesy visit and have a chat with those legendary third-year seniors. Suko said he didn't have a second to waste on rookies and put their courage to come here down to total insanity. The gang leader understood the contempt but played his trump card. They came from the same legendary generation as their big brother. With those shocking words, Shuko realized with horror that the sneaky brat was actually the brother of that vile man she knew from the past. In-Hai hit Suko right where it hurts, mocking him for hiding behind the elders like a coward after his brother threw him away like a rag. With no intention of backing down, Suko grabbed the boy by the throat to finish him then and there, yet In-Hai kept on talking about disappointment. Even though this insult from his former leader's brother after all this time infuriated Suko, In-Hai emphasized how disappointed she was by his helplessness. He brought the tension to a peak by whispering that the senior's struggle, full of loneliness and despair, was over because he himself had fundamentally changed the situation. Hearing these mysterious and heavy words from his former leader's brother, Suko's frantic rage was instantly chilled and calmed. After a while, some students gathered on the school roof and discussed among themselves that they needed to act quickly against this massive chaos in the arena. The referee told the council president in a worried voice that many students were abusing the arena rules for their own gain, shaking the very foundation of the place. He stated clearly that they can no longer stand by, that it's strictly forbidden, and that things simply cannot go on this way. Now they had to find a way to stop this. Look at these rookies acting like bratty teens, and with Kang's troublemaker brother joining them, the real fun's about to start. Even though our chunk is crushed with disappointment, he stays in cool guy mode, saying rules are meant to be followed, not broken. While the referee fuming with rage, the president puts his foot down and announces that this fighting arena will unfortunately never be the same again. After Burakin's overwhelming speech, the student is left speechless and chooses to quietly slink away. Right then, as if he had nothing better to do, our rookie, Jisudin Yungun, gets a call on his phone. Chung is fed up with the brat and strictly warns him not to call until he gets a decent score. When he sees our guy lying there like a corpse, he probably thinks he's thrown in the towel and starts mocking him deep down. But surprise, since our guy already hit that legendary score, he keeps pushing Chungu. Giving up just isn't his style. Our hero, eager for the new lesson, will soon be running around like a headless chicken, without even knowing where he is. Still hung up on that annoying brat, our hero burns with a desire for revenge and realizes he must become much stronger. Back to his old habits, he goes back to that per-training dummy and continues beating it like a punching bag right where he left off. The boy, whose only capital is his persistence, has no choice but to work like a dog to escape those weak punches that feel like mere fly bites. He knows that if he makes that machine count thousands of times, he'll succeed one day, and he remembers Jungun's grating words. To prove he's really damaging his opponent, he needs to bury it hard enough to shake that machine's iron head. So instead of imitating others, he had to find his own wild way. It was the only way out for the poor kid. Lacking strength and a smaller build, he spreads his legs wide to take a firmer stance than his rivals. Look at that. With that massive uppercut, he rattles the mannequin and finally manages to see that holy number 3 on the scoreboard. Even though it's midnight, Jiho loses himself in practice while his score keeps climbing as if he's cheating. Even with Gilsun's hands covered in blood, she refuses to give in. And finally, it shatters that famous 9,000-point barrier. Back to the present, our hero asks for his next torture, lesson, as if his life meant nothing to him. Stunned by this speed, Chung's jaw drops, but the kid says he has no time to waste around here. While Chung announces they're moving to the next stage, he politely warns the boy that this training will be straight out of hell. But before he can even realize what's happening, he collapses right there like a robot with a dead battery. But our master just smirks at the scene, claiming that resting is actually a part of the training. Park enters the arena and asks why it's so deserted. It feels like everyone is hiding under their beds in fear. Right then, a new guy appears at the door and starts acting tough, coming to teach them a lesson by questioning who's afraid of whom. He's shocked to find that guy across the park is on the student council, and that tacky dragon tattoo on his arm is just asking for a punch. Using the fight as an excuse to go at each other, they look for any reason to clash, while the referee silently watches this theater from afar. Just as the referee thinks he needs to step in and stop this nonsense, another uninvited guest drops in to shake things up. The new guy acts like he's at an amusement park, questioning the tension here, as if he came to check it out after hearing how fun it is. But he's disappointed by what he sees as soon as he arrives. It's pathetic for upperclassmen to pick on tiny little freshmen. He decides to bring some discipline to the place, but when the referee sees it's Sukva, he roars, "How dare you show your face here?" But our young talent boldly reminds them he's there to fight, noting that he is, after all, a high school runner-up. The referee wants him gone immediately for the chaos he caused after that incident, but the guy keeps looking for trouble. Still, our guy is mocking them, saying they should let bygones be bygones and just enjoy this massive fight together. Then another guy shows up and asks why the ref is being so intense. After all, fewer people means more peace. Seeing Kong, the referee turns pale, while Kong mocks him, wondering if his knees are shaking with fear. The scene changes and we find ourselves in a dark construction site. Gilsu wonders what kind of training they'll do in this eerie place. While this dingy and weird place looks like a ghost could pop out at any second, our guy has already started shaking like a leaf. Chung, on the contrary, keeps up his mysterious and annoying attitude, saying the boy finally found the right path. Sensing he's in trouble, our guy asks what kind of torture awaits, while Chung mentions those famous 6 gates from the past. While every high school in the region fought to be the strongest, the legendary school that crushed its rivals was none other than 6 gates. After the 6 doors took over, the defeated schools were forced to tuck their tails and scatter back to their own territories. This eerie place they've stepped into is nothing but the home turf of those filthy jeans-saying bastards. Even if wars between schools are history, someone from another school trespassing here is considered a direct declaration of war. When Chung closes the door, it's as if he's sealing a monster's mouth. It clearly states the other side was intentionally left open. He thinks he should escape by his own strength. After all, there's no greater experience than a real life-and-death struggle. Right after that, he just leaves our hero there all alone and walks away. Meanwhile, some guys nearby hear strange noises and show up at the scene. They get off their bikes, wondering which dog is barking so loudly in their territory. While discussing who this guy is and if he's some lost rookie from the 6 gates, it turns out this group is the same one that harassed us before. The man asks him to his face, saying this time is nothing like before and things are about to get much bloodier. Gilsu is absolutely thrilled to have trapped her here. He emphasizes that the price of being alone will be very high. He says your life is over and wonders why this cowardly idiot is still standing there like a statue. But when our guy starts mumbling to himself, the guy across from him doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, our hero shifts gears and enters a battle stance. At that very second, the expected explosion occurs. He lands such a punch right in the guy's face that before he can even recover, a second one has already hit its mark. The extras around are left absolutely speechless with shock. Ours literally wipes the floor with that huge guy in seconds. Just as our hero thinks things are going smoothly, the scene suddenly shifts back to that famous and brutal fighting arena. While one man there accepts defeat and begs for his life, the other winning maniac seems quite pleased with the situation. While he says he would have come long ago if he knew the arena was this much fun, the referee cuts in and tells him to stop showing off. He reminds him to find an opponent his own size before getting arrogant, then releases the miserable, broken man. He notes they're finally alone and says it's time to talk business, asking what their plan is. With the students gone, the arena rules trampled on, and even Q's mysterious son showing up, things have gotten really messy. Thinking they fled for fear of a beating, Kong questions the plan, while Kong wonders if his senior is actually intent on a fight. He suggests that instead of wasting time in this empty arena, they should find a proper place where the sound of breaking bones will echo. Since this place is empty and there's no one left to protect, he wants Chong to deliver a message. A real war is about to begin. They say they're leaving this playground arena for a real bloodbath and a serious fight. The camera cuts back to our hero, Gilsu, who's getting a dark, twisted thrill as he beats the man. The other thug lunges at him, shouting in rage, asking how he dared to use his fists on his home turf. He throws a heavy punch at our hero's face, but Gilsu doesn't even flinch and says these strikes are useless. Right after, he delivers such an Ottoman slap that before the kid knows it, he hits the ground and ends up covered in dust. After he packs the other one away with his fists in seconds, the man wonders in shock how this loser became so strong. In a very short time, he wonders what happened to our hero and if he's the same cowardly kid he saw. Just then, his ex appears on stage and calls him a complete idiot, while actually hinting that he's in trouble. While asking if he realizes what he's done, he makes it clear to his face that he's finished, as a crowd gathers behind him. Then some guy from the inner circle condescendingly asks what a rookie like him is doing here and how he even has the nerve to hang around. Seeing the crowd, our hero instantly realizes that facing so many men head-on would be total suicide. So he needs to add a little creativity. While the girl says she has nowhere left to run, Gilsu makes another unexpected move. He sets his sights on a motorcycle, thinking that if brute strength isn't enough for this army, he should use a weapon of war instead. He floors the gas, but as he realizes driving is harder than he thought, the punks start mocking and laughing at his pathetic attempt. While they're mocking this stupid escape attempt, our guy hurls the engine like a cannonball right into their faces. He finally manages to slip through the crowd by asking who said he'd ride the bike and ordering them to move out of his way. As Gilsu runs like crazy, he plans to corner these cannibals one by one in a tight spot and finish them off. But just as he thinks he stands no chance against an army of this size in the open, an idea strikes and he spots a building. Thinking he could turn this place into a slaughterhouse even outside the arena, that angry mob of punks is still hot on his heels, chasing him down. Perched at the top of the stairs, our hero starts provocatively challenging those below as if to say, "Come get some." He shouts that the guy lost his mind while running and is now cornered with nowhere left to hide from death. As they charge at him fiercely, they are shaken by blows from our man that are harder and more lethal than they ever expected. Another brat attacks Gilsu, but he gets a taste of it too, and their limp bodies pile up on their friends like sacks of flour. Our hero smiles with a devious triumph, knowing he can take them out one by one on these narrow stairs and send them straight to hell. In the end, he packed it all up and managed to escape through that hole, but right then something strange happened. Something hit ours. Right after, a brat coming down the hill threw a heavy kick to his head and took the lead. This hit sent him rolling down. The angry brat complained a lot because someone from the 6 gates suddenly appeared while he was peacefully devouring his food. Gilsu was in shock. With that tiny brain of his, he never, ever imagined someone would come crashing down on him. He was caught completely off guard. Right then and there, he lunged at the brat, and within seconds, the kid took a heavy punch from our guy and folded. The brat, realizing his power was on a whole different level from the other losers, finally opened his arrogant and annoying mouth. He said he'd give her exactly 10 minutes to finish it, and then hand it back. Then everyone launched a mass attack against our hero. Meanwhile, as the boy kept resisting, he thought to himself that fighting these guys would lead nowhere. The kid nearby thought about how useless, slack, and pathetic the new freshmen were for not even being able to handle a single brat. But when our hero jumped in and said he didn't need 10 minutes at all, the guy was stunned and just stood there frozen. Then, without wasting any time, he had the bad guy and he went tumbling head over heels down the stairs.